Hey y'all, I'm Courtney.
And I'm Sarah.
And this is Bodice Siblings,
the podcast where we read all the books we used to steal off our grandmother's nightstands.
And then we drink about it.
Hey y'all. On this episode, we read Brenda Jackson's Tonight and Forever. Trigger warnings for this are there is a character who is the survivor of a marriage that was filled with emotional and physical abuse, so that is upsetting. We also have a suicide that is done off screen, but it's handled very poorly. We also have a long dead wife. She didn't get murdered or anything. She's just dead. We've got
backstory.
We've got a bad mustache.
Yeah, not a hot mustache.
No, bad mustache.
I mean, it's weird. I'm not even sure that they said mustache in the book, but like there's a mustache in the cover, and it's not my favorite mustache.
No, it's not. It's like that 90s cop mustache.
Yeah, that's what it is. There's also a man who just bought a property which has beautiful hardwood floors, and he wants to wall-to-wall carpet them.
Yeah. So, all right, buckle up for Brenda Jackson's Tonight and Forever. All right, so how are you doing?
Oh, God, I'm doing all right. I guess we're having one of those South Carolina Februarys. It's 72 degrees today.
Yeah, fall spring. So it's like I just really want to clean my house. That's what it makes me want to do. It's like I feel like if I don't purge everything, then I'm a failure. So
I'm coming off the high of a customer service war victory, so nobody can touch me now.
Those are always nice.
Yeah, contractor thought I wasn't going to look up in the attic.
No,
I did.
Good for you, girl.
Yes.
So, all right, we are going to be talking about Miss Brenda Jackson.
It's nasty.
This is our first Brenda Jackson book. And let me get to Brenda here. Okay, so she was born in Jacksonville, Florida. She married Gerald, her high school sweetheart, in 1972 after graduating from high school. She has a degree from Jacksonville University in business administration. To relieve job-related stress in the early 90s, Jackson began writing romance novels. Although she enjoyed novels, she was dissatisfied with the lack of cultural and ethnic diversity in the characters. After complaining to her husband that she could do better, he registered her for a romance writers conference and encouraged her to try her hand at writing. At the conference, Jackson met the unpublished authors Frances Ray and Rochelle Allers. Her husband is awesome for doing that.
Yeah, he sounds like a good guy.
That's really sweet. Her first novel, which is this one, is Tonight and Forever, and it was published in 1995. And the next few books are based on the characters.
They felt like they would. They like the brothers seemed like they were all going to get a book.
Yes. You know? So despite publishing 11 books in the first 10 years of her writing career, as of 2005, I know that's a while ago, but please enjoy this, y'all. In 2005, this woman has written 11 books that are selling really well. Jackson considered this to be her hobby, and she continued to work full-time as a manager for State Farm Insurance.
So it's Brenda from State Farm?
Yeah, so Brenda from State Farm. And so she's also written for several publishers, so St. Martin's Press, BET, Kensington, Harlequin. So, all right.
Well, they don't have a retirement fund if you're a writer, okay? So Brenda's got her head screwed on right.
She does. So I'll let Sarah describe the cover.
Well, so first of all, this is a pinnacle romance. It is an arabesque, and evidently arabesque is their AFAM line.
Yes.
And you can tell there's that little sales flyer in the middle, and it is, black and red and green, and it's telling you hey, you need to subscribe and that sort of thing. So I don't know how many were written of this. It doesn't have a number, so I don't know how deep this is into the series. But there are several advertised here with it, and I love this cover actually. I think it's really great. It's orange, which you don't see a ton of in romance, and it's got the title and her name is in script, but it's got a photograph instead of a painted cover, and it's got these two. It's kind of off center. We'll have to show a picture because I really like the cover, except for that cop mustache business.
Cop mustache,
but she's looking at the camera and he's looking away, and I think it's a really great picture. I would have picked this up.
Yeah, it's a cool cover.
It is a cool cover. I shall read the back. Yesterday, after her marriage ends in bitter divorce, all Lorren Jacobs wants is to leave California behind. Returning to her roots in Texas seems to be just what the doctor ordered until she meets real-life physician Justin Madaris. Oh, real life. Okay, what the doctor ordered. I was like, what, did she have a fake doctor before? No, never mind. I'm caught up. It's fine. Lorren has vowed never to give her heart to another man, but she can't stop herself from responding to the handsome widower's sensuous whispers of love. Today, ellipsis. Justin thought no woman could ever move him as deeply as his wife had, until Lorren. She rekindles a desire he never believed he'd feel again. But sharing a life together means letting go of the past. Somehow, Justin and Lorren must fight through the painful memories to fulfill the passionate promise of tomorrow.
So let's jump right in. We find out that Lorren and a number of other people are all collected back in Texas, where they were in the foster home of Mama Nora. And it was nice because, you know, they all had a really positive experience. They all love Mama Nora. It's their birthday, and they're going to have like a giant party.
Yeah, so this is not like a grim orphan story.
No, so there's like, but also like I liked that for this party they have committees. There is there's like a flower committee and things like that.
You know how it is.
So Lorren is at the party. She is, you know, in a nice backless dress. We hear about her dress. She's there with her best friend growing up, Sinead, and they're just enjoying the party.
And so Lorren, she has moved back to Texas, like the back of the copy says, from California. She's a children's book author, and she writes. They're called Kente Kids.
Yes.
So it's African children's books for, you know, a largely African American audience, and they're blowing up. She's got like a toy deal coming, and she's been like in talks for an animated series and that kind of thing. So she's a very successful children's author, which is awesome. So her friend's a lawyer, and she meets this guy at this party who is the new town doctor. So he's actually not from around, like he's the only person in this that didn't all grow up together. Was it Ellis, Texas?
Something like that. We know that he's I can't remember if he was like, one of them's an Oilers fan, one of them's a Cowboys fan.
He's the Oilers fan and she's the Cowboys fan.
Yes.
So it's this whole thing. And his family's in Houston, actually. But like he moved away. Like he went to Howard. Like all these people are HBCU graduates.
I know.
Super
really
great.
Cool.
So he's back and he's moved permanently to be the small town doctor. He is a widower. His wife died of cancer like quite young, like they're like in their 20s.
I think they died. Like he's in his mid 30s now, and they died
10 years since.
And she died when they were like 24. She had a brain tumor, an inoperable brain tumor. They always have inoperable brain tumors. I guess that's a trigger warning for this, that I say something about inoperable brain tumors.
If you have an inoperable brain tumor, I'm sorry if they actually called it that.
Yes.
But that's just a phrase that always pops up in these books. And so he sees Lorren and he's like,
Yeah, and it's like it starts with like from his viewpoint where he's like, who is this woman walking across the room? You know, he's watching her dance seductively to Michael Bolton, and he is just ensorcelled.
Michael Bolton happens later.
Yeah.
This is like, I think they're dancing to like, you know, upbeat, like, I was picturing Whitney Houston, like, dance with somebody, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And he's like, everything he sees of her just like makes her drool harder, except they talk and she's like, nope, no, thank you. No.
Yeah, he keeps following her around. And she's very, very closed off. And, you know, he keeps asking her out. And she keeps saying no. And she leaves the party because she's affected by this man. But she has sworn that she would, you know, never get involved again because she is just a year out of a horrible marriage to a man named Scott. It's always a Scott. Scott who, you know.
This guy's such a Scott, too. Apologies to all Scotts.
Who, you know, like sex shamed her and said that she was terrible at sex and all this kind of stuff. That's what you know. So she is staying, Mama Nora has her house, but then she's also got a lake house in town.
Yeah, like all like foster moms of like 20 kids have all this money to have a lake house.
I know, in the same town. It's not even like anywhere. It's like, it's basically just, you know, a few houses down kind of thing. I was like, all right. So it's very isolated though. And that's what she wanted to write. She needed to write her next book. And she gets home and she looks. And
the cab driver is not going to leave her. I guess she takes a cab home because she's being safe about her drinking. And the cab driver's like, oh, let me just make sure you get in the house.
Yeah.
And then like they see other headlights and the cab driver's like, oh, I'm going to stay until we make sure who this is because you know, not a lot of people live out here. And he's like, oh, that's just the town doctor. And she's like, motherfucker.
Yes.
Why did you follow me? Like, I live here, asshole.
Like, yeah, there's a second cabin next door. And it's, you know, where Justin is saying as his palatial ranch is being fixed. And so, you know, they have flirty banter. And then
first they have angry banter, then they have flirty banter.
The next morning he just shows up with like some muffins and is like, let's go swimming.
Yeah, I want to go swimming with you, and also I'm going to make you breakfast. They always do that in these books. They always show up and they like, and if somebody did that in real life, you'd be like, no, don't get the fuck off my doorstep.
I'd be like, show it. Like, you'd be like, I'd be unwashed. Like, these people are always just perfectly presentable.
Well, she's in her robe too, which if it weren't a romance novel tradition, I'd be mad about it because it kind of forces her way in, and she's not dressed.
I know, she's in her sexy robe.
Yeah, but then they have like, I actually dog-eared this particular bit of banter. This book does that thing where it's not like, I hate you, I kiss you. It's more like we're having a mundane conversation and suddenly like her innards started to be on fire and shit. So here's like, this came out of nowhere. Oh, well, it has an outfit. So let me start a paragraph earlier. The soft material of her blue romper did more than hint at the feminine curves it covered. He watched her hips sway provocatively with each step, enticing him with an allure that was as old as mankind. She turned around to face him. How do you like it? Justin blinked twice. He swallowed hard. Excuse me? He answered huskily. I guess that was me being husky, but really it's just supposed
I like that.
Your coffee. How do you like it? Or should I ask, how do you take it? He cleared his throat and said the first words that came to his muddled mind. Black and hot.
There's a lot of that in this. It's
yeah, but it comes out of nowhere. It's like, and then she put away some sugar packets and then like.
Very randomly horny. So like they eventually go swimming and she lets her guard down a little bit and they have fun. It's very innocent.
But it's also extremely like he's always like touching on her. Not non-consensually, but like it's always like. Pushing her barriers, or whatever. He's pushing her barriers in such a way, and she's very like no, and then she'll be like no, So I mean, you can't really blame him because she is sending. I don't want to say that she's sending mixed messages and that like blurred.
I think she's trying to like her internalization is that she's very into him, but because again, her husband told her that she's terrible at sex, she is afraid like. To put herself out there. She likes him. It's obvious that she likes him, but she doesn't want.
Yeah, she figures she's just destined to be,
like
single, which is fine, except that she doesn't really want to be single, but she's afraid to get hurt again.
Right.
Like, it's to the point where, like, she starts to have sex fantasies about him in the shower, and then she's weirded out by it.
Yes, exactly.
Like, honey, that's what the shower is for.
Exactly.
That's why you have a shower. So... they're kind of doing this like little this and that, and then like he makes it really clear that he wants to date her, and she actually she talks to her friends and stuff about this and be like, well, this guy, I mean, like seriously, and they're all like, why don't you fucking date him? He's a nice guy.
Yeah,
like he seems perfectly nice. And so she agrees, but then she has this plan, and this plan is
oh my god, I forgot about the plan.
Ridiculous. That like he keeps saying like well. We could just have an affair, And she's like, okay, fine. You come over and, I'll cook dinner for you. And she does. And he's like, okay, I'm willing to have an affair with you. Here's my affair contract.
Yeah.
Her affair contract was like this gold digging hoe contract. I believe this is when Michael Bolton is playing.
Yeah. Her prerequisites include being able to drive. He's got a Corvette. She wants to drive his Corvette.
Whenever she wants to.
Yeah. She wants access to his banking account.
And then she wants a baby.
Yeah. And he kind of sees through it. He's like, okay.
And then he like just comes at her like, here's my car keys. Here's my checkbook. And also like, thump,
Yeah. And she's like, whoa.
Clams her like a drain pipe.
And,
it was a joke. It was a joke.
Yeah. They make out for a little bit and then she gets like in her head again. I guess that's what it is. It's like, it's not mixed signals so much as like, because again, that's a bad term, but is that she gets in her own head about it. So she starts enjoying herself. And then again, like her past trauma just kicks in and, she stops. And, by this time she agrees to go out like on a real date with him. And
well, she did. She agreed to go on a real date with him when she thought that he wouldn't know anything to do with her because she had that dumb contract.
Yeah.
So they go to the movies in Dallas and then they go parking on wherever the kids go parking. And then like, and they kind of like, fool around a little bit. But then there's this giant crash through the trees and he has to go like save the lives of some drunk teenager.
Yeah. He saves the lives of drunk. They get a helicopter and it's all very dramatic.
But don't worry. Nothing of this will come up again ever in the book.
After he saves the kids and comes back, he comes back from the hospital where she's waiting. She basically is like DTF and they're making out and getting into it. And he does the right thing because they're both like emotionally charged and he doesn't want it to be under false pretenses or anything. So he stops it and she immediately thinks that she's being rejected for like
being bad at sex.
And she throws him out and won't let him talk. Mm-hmm. And
I hate it when they do that.
I was like, if you just let the man get a sentence out.
Because he said something that he didn't realize was going to trigger her. He said something like, oh, like this is bad.
Yeah.
Right,
And So it looks like, all hope looks lost until
there's a thunderstorm.
Well, no, there's a cookout first.
There's a cookout first. It says, like a welcome home thing, I guess, or something. Like his brother is, I don't know, there's a big cookout. And when these people throw like the tiniest party, it is like this giant, like everybody gets a t-shirt, a kind of reunion party. I mean, it's a million people at every one of these parties. So
Lorren was supposed to go, but obviously doesn't. But Sinead still goes. And Sinead saddles up to him and gives him like the hypothetical, like, so hypothetically, I have this friend. You need to tell me what to do because you're a doctor. And she, lets him know that her hypothetical friend had been in a bad marriage and that it was beyond just what, you think of as a bad marriage, that, she was sexually shamed and was emotionally abused and that kind of stuff. So like she basically puts all Lauren's business out there.
Yeah, I don't think she should have done that. I mean, like, I understand why she did it.
Right.
And if she hadn't done it, but still, I think that crossed a line, a friendship line. You shouldn't be putting somebody's like, although evidently it was public record because this dude was yelling it at the divorce hearing in front of the judge.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I don't understand how that didn't get her like everything.
And so he goes back, he goes over to the cottage that she's staying in and basically forces his way, not forces, but he's like, you're going to listen to me. And he was like, the reason that I didn't want to do this is that 2 kids just almost died. We were both really emotionally charged. I didn't want it to be something that you regretted. And she was like, oh, well, that makes complete sense.
Yes. And then he goes back and then there's a thunderstorm, which reminds her of the night that her parents died in a terrible car crash.
There's always like women afraid of thunderstorms.
I know. I love a thunderstorm.
Right.
She runs over there and of course soaking wet in her little nightie and all because she's really freaked out with the thunderstorm. And he's a perfect gentleman. Oh yeah. Because I mean, it would obviously be wrong to take advantage of her in the state, but like gives her one of his t-shirts.
Yeah.
And she takes a hot shower they keep having these encounters over the course of the night because, she'll come in and bother him.
I know. I was like, let's let that man be.
Well, he ends up sleeping in the bed with her in a chaste way, but in the morning he wakes up and then they
finally bang it out.
Sensual banging.
And it's so good. And it was really I liked this scene. Like they do it, and he is all about her, and she's all about him, and so she really enjoys it, and then she cries after because and she tells him my husband said that I was terrible at this, blah blah blah, and he's like,
your husband was an asshole.
Yeah, he's like, it's not a you problem, it's a him problem. And so they are dating and all this stuff, and it's like,
but she's still up in her fucking head about it because she's still he said at the beginning, he made one fucking comment about how he thinks that love is fate and eventually your fated person will show up, and so she's all like, she won't say anything to him, but she's all like, will it be tomorrow? Will it be the day after? And so he asked her for input on decorating this house, and she's like, am I doing it for Miss Fate?
So through the course of the book, they're dating, and by the time they've done it, there's still 100 pages left. I was like, well, what else is going to happen?
Oh, I figured there'd be a black moment.
And I was like, oh, here we go. So he wears this medallion that his wife gave him right before she died from inoperable brain tumor. And he loses it after one of their well,
she doesn't know what it is.
Right,
and then they have sex in the kitchen of his house that he just bought, and he's looking for it because he lost it.
But what he says, my wife who passed away, Denise, gave it to me. And she flies off the damn handle.
Oh my God.
And she's made comments in the past to him about, well, we don't all have picture fairy tale marriages. And I was like
the one where your wife dies in hospice care?
I was like, whoa. So she flies off the handle about this medallion and storms out. And so he has to go chase her and explain the medallion. Hey, my wife was dying. It was terrible. She gave me this, and then Lauren's like, oh, I'm like,
well, no, she says that, but she's like, I guess he has to find out the time for himself to let it go. What? Why should he ever let it go?
I know.
What is wrong with it? Every this is one of those am I the asshole posts on Reddit?
Yeah.
There's one about every month about can you believe he keeps his dead wife's ashes still? It's been 2 years.
I know.
Like that.
It was very.
Jesus, what is wrong with you? Because she's like, it's almost like he was keeping her wedding ring. So what if he did?
It's so low.
I think it's perfectly appropriate for her to keep her wedding ring, you know?
And so they have these little back and forth moments. They go camping at one point.
Oh, it's before that. Like, yeah, they take like the boys, like the foster care boys camping. Except their idea of camping is RVs. But
they took the RV, parked it, and then they camped outside.
Well, she can't to the RV.
I would have stayed at the RV. I've been like, forget this. I'm not staying outside.
So they do all these things that you think are going to like come back in the story, but they
never come back.
This is her first book, but
yeah,
because there's a little boy in that I really thought that they were going to end up adopting because you know, she has her foster care background and all, and they're very tender with this child, but you know.
Right, because he's like, I think he's in a boy. Those kids are in a home.
They're in a home. And like the littlest one, he's only 5. His parents died the same way that hers died. So really thought that they didn't. They kind of let that one hang. But like they do all these things. They go to the. So it's set in Texas, and they get some of this Texas shit absolutely right. Like the way that Texas people are fucking obsessed with bluebonnets. Like, you know, bluebonnets like grow like really well beside highways because they're like a disturbed earth kind of plant.
Yeah.
So all these people will go to like, you know, the busy highway and them and their kids and their dogs and shit and take these professional pictures, almost getting their asses run over on the interstate to get these bluebonnet pictures. And Zach is rolling his eyes at me, my Texas informant. But there are a lot of like German and like, you know, Eastern European immigrants to in Texas. But I just don't see these two black people saying, so, are you going to go to the International Polka Festival? Of course.
Yeah, that's where we have big business happen. So they go to the polka festival. There's a parade, and they're just walking around. And he goes to talk to somebody for a few minutes, like one of his patients, and all of a sudden her ex-husband is there.
And this man she left in California. Okay,
yeah,
so this is not a chance meeting.
And you know, he's like, I want you back. And she's like, no. And she's, you know, she's shaken, but of course she's not going to tell Justin anything that's happened.
I don't know why she doesn't tell him. That really bothered me that she didn't tell him because it's, you know, and then it's her book release date, which doesn't make any sense because it's obviously a weekend and books come out on Tuesdays. But so like Justin gets to see her like kind of shine professionally.
Yeah.
You know, and she sees that Justin is not threatened by her professional success.
Right.
Unlike Scott was. But meanwhile, she doesn't tell him that she saw Scott, and Scott is like several time zones away from where Scott is supposed to be.
And then Scott shows back up at the house.
No, he calls her several times and hangs. I mean, like this is disturbing behavior.
He is stalking.
This is time to tell somebody because this is, you know, this is not some dude who just like called once and gave it up. Like, you know, this is not cool.
Right. And so he keeps doing this, and then he shows up and he's leaving as Justin is coming in, and Justin's like, who dat? And she's like, oh, that's Scott, my ex-husband, who's been stalking me for a couple months. And he's like, what? You know, and
we forgot to talk about the sheriff, who's their like buddy.
Yeah, they're friends with the sheriff,
and who has like 8,000 children, all with the same like first letter of their name. It's like that, and they throw a party with 8,000 people come to that. I guess they're all related to them. I don't know. It's just that kind of town, right? So they're friends with the sheriff. Evidently, she went to high school with him.
Yeah,
and so like the sheriff runs this guy out.
Yeah.
Like runs him out of town, like follows him, makes sure he like leaves and actually goes to Dallas and calls it case closed, which I mean, like great and all, but I kind of would have preferred more paperwork.
It was very strange. And then that was like, and then we have more like strife about the dead wife.
Yeah.
And where he basically, you know, I think she says like that she loves him or something, and he just needs like some time to process or.
And he's like, well, he's dealing with the fact that like, you know, she's different from his wife, which of course, you know, and his wife would be different now if she lived. And I mean, like, just it's life is complicated.
Well, the thing is like Lorren wants to know that she's like number one, and
he just gets cold feet for there's no real reason for him to get cold feet towards the end of it, which doesn't.
It was just another, and he goes to talk to his family, and that's where we meet the 5,000 brothers. That's where you find out one of the brothers has been in a semi-bad relationship.
Yeah, well, he was. I mean, like, so his roommate in college died by suicide after somebody broke up with him. So this is like now 4 degrees of separation or whatever from the main characters of this. And then like, you know, he met a girl, married her, then went to Australia, and she was supposed to follow him, but sent him in the mail her ring and Dear John letter and divorce papers. So later, Justin tells Lorren, oh, I understand what your bad relationship was like because this happened to my brother. I'm like, what?
They're different stories. Like, nobody's story is one, versus the other.
Also,
but like,
one of those happened to her. One of those happened to your brother's friend's college roommate's the guy who lived down the street. But Scott comes back, which we all knew Scott would. Obviously, Scott would. So Scott comes back and is actually like, this is kind of scary for her because, he shoves his way into her house. And we've been told it's quite isolated and all. But like Justin shows up and then the sheriff shows up and you kind of want an ass kicking. What you get is he sticks out his foot and trips him.
Yeah, it was very strange. And during the process of all this, you found out that Scott has not only just been emotionally abusive, he's been physically abusive and is very unhinged. And so her and Justin kind of make up and he's like, well, I love you. It's like basically he does the I love you more than I love Denise. I've never felt this way, even about Denise.
Which I don't care for either. Like,
I don't, yeah.
People. So, I mean, like, he did that, like, super pulling back thing. I guess what it is, he was pulling back and she's like, I'm going to make a gesture.
Yeah.
And so, it's like, she leaves a note for him. Leave a note, by the way. Now, think about this as I tell you what happens. Leaves a note for this man that says, meet me at the house you're remodeling at 4:00. So I guess she just hoped that he saw it. And he comes in and he's like, you look really nice. You're dressed up. She's wearing like a hat, a little suit and everything. And she says, I'm going to a wedding and I want to say something. He said, I want to say something. Like, no, I say it first. And so she says, like, that she apologizes for, about all that shit she had to say about his late wife. and she, she makes this big, like, profession of love to him. And he's like, oh, well, I came to say that, I kind of feel the same way. And she's like, great, awesome. And then she hands him an envelope and the envelope is an invitation to their wedding happening now.
Yes.
He gets to go home and shower first, but everybody's coming. So it's not just like we had the Justice of the Peace. Like, wow, that's some planning.
So much planning.
I appreciate that as a baller move, but like, what if he missed your...
I know. What if he didn't get the note?
What if he doesn't have his suit ready?
And so we have like the year later epilogue. And
but we do find out that he had bought an engagement ring on his way to this meeting.
Oh, yes.
So, okay, fair enough, but she didn't know that.
Yeah.
She went like and got engraved invitations?
She made fancy invitations. I love it. That's, I love an invitation.
But you know what I really hate? An epilogue where somebody's having a baby.
Yeah, so she has, the epilogue happens, she is giving birth, and they end up with a daughter that they named Justina Denise after, Justina after him and Denise after.
And she names the baby. So it's obviously supposed to be her saying, okay, now I kind of understand.
A gesture.
Your late wife will always be in our lives, and that's, But I want to know where the medallion is.
I know. I bet she made it like throw it into the sea or something.
It was probably real tacky, though.
So, all right, questions. Big dick energy or big dick energy?
I liked him.
I liked him a lot.
I feel like his mustache.
I feel like that he had a lot of emotional intelligence versus some of the other people that we've had.
He felt, oddly, because I think they were about the same age, he felt much more adult.
Well, she was 25 and he was 35.
Okay, well, never mind then. Yeah, so that makes actual good sense.
Yeah, so I really liked him, and I think that it was I think Brenda Jackson was very thoughtful in what she decided to like put in the book, and this book is very much kind of that 90s Black empowerment, and I really liked that, and I liked how he was a doctor.
Of his bedroom is great. So it's all in like browns and stuff, and he's got like the like a painting of Africa on the walls, and he's got like, she says sculptures on the bookshelves, but the sculptures, right?
Yeah,
she's got like that. I know it's that like that Black mother and child, that kind of modern sculpture. It's I really enjoyed, like,
it's a celebrate. I think what's great about this is that, and for reasons, very obvious reasons, with earlier authors, like Sandra Kitt and stuff, people's race it's there, but it's not as big of a part of it. And this kind of felt like a celebration of Black, families and culture. So and he is a great character.
Yes, and there are actually, everybody in this I enjoyed. Everybody seemed like very kind of like well drawn, realistic characters in what they were. Now,
his mustache was terrible.
Yeah, I did not like his mustache. The thing is, when you talk shit with her about the heroine, she's like kind of the only.
I did not like. She was the
exception.
weakest part of the book to me.
I think that I would have been more forgiving of her kind of immature, like, it's like you still love your dead wife, if she had been more of a three-dimensional character.
Yeah.
Like, I liked her in theory. Like, I liked her friendships. I liked her children's books. Yeah. But I just, like, she doesn't. She felt like kind of a blank slate a bit.
She was very flat.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would have been more well disposed to her when she started showing her ass if I had, like, had more to hang my hat on with her.
So back to Elda Bitch.
Her friend is awesome.
Yeah.
And also she has a good relationship with her foster mom.
Yeah. So, and then she meets other, her friend who's the sheriff. She's good friends with his wife, and there's other female characters that she meets, and other just a whole
his family. He's got like his mom and also his
sisters.
Sister. So like there's lots and lots of positive female relationships in this. There are no adversarial female relationships in this at all. So yeah, I liked it for that for sure. When it comes to consent, is this book more Robin Thicke or Marvin Gaye?
Now, again, she had a really bad marriage that happens off screen, and you kind of hear about it afterwards. But with our main character, it's very consensual.
Yeah, and it's actually, he always uses a condom. They talk about protection.
Yeah, they even talk about, like, AIDS and HIV, which I was like, oh, this is the first book to ever bring that up.
Yeah, it's really good in that regard for sure. And he does, I mean, like, okay, he's a little pushy in the early, in like romance novel kind of, but he, when it actually gets down to business, he requires like open verbal consent.
Yes.
Like, I want to hear you say it, because he's like, okay, if you want to keep going, I need to hear you say that, because like, tell me now, right? And I like that a great deal about this character also. How badly are you judging your mom off for reading this book?
No, it was a good, it's, for me, the book felt weird tonally because, like, again, I loved the world building that was done in it. I really liked the secondary characters. I liked him. For me, the problem was just Lorren. And also I felt like some of her writing was really like we said, going to the polka festival and like, it's like, I know this super restaurant. Like, who's a super? Like, just again, some of that. But.
Yeah. And I mean, it is like vastly tonally inconsistent. Like, and there's parts of it that just seem like haphazardly plotted. But again, it's her first book.
Yeah.
So, we should probably read, so for a little further into her catalog and see how she kind of gets her legs under her as a writer. Because I liked a lot about it. I felt it did not hang together all the way.
Yeah. So would Scarlett Johansson be in the movie? No, she wouldn't.
No, they would not allow her in the movie.
No,
maybe she plays Scott.
Yeah, she could be Scott. No, again, this book is about Black characters living with their families, living their lives, and it's really great representation wise. I
really couldn't tell if the sheriff was Black, because they said that and his wife, because they said that his wife was a Meg Ryan lookalike. Although I can certainly imagine like a lady who's a or
it could have been a biracial, an interracial marriage.
Yeah,
like,
so I don't. She doesn't say specifically that anybody is white. There's no reason for anybody to be white, though. Yeah, I mean, like it's quite possible that all of these people are Black. Which,
it was great.
Great, so. Awesome. I don't know about the polka people.
No, the polka people are definitely white.
And Michael Bolton is definitely also white. You're not leaving the house looking like that. There should have been more outfits in this thing.
We get a lot of his outfits, like T-shirts and like his Levi's.
I do appreciate his bathing suit, because that it was probably the shorter variety.
Yeah,
he talks a lot about his legs.
And we have her dresses, but we don't have like a lot of description of them. But
which is too bad, because I think often in a good contemporary you get some good outfits, and I wanted more outfit from this.
Yeah, I think we got her in like some pleated shorts and like some flats, and she had wedges on at one point.
Yeah.
But nothing that stuck out.
Yeah, I do remember she had like some denim skirts and, like that kind of business. And of course we all remember dressing like, but I wanted like a showstopper outfit.
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah. So would your 12-year-old self have dog-eared any pages?
It was very non-specific, but yet very heated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good description.
It felt hot, but then you couldn't tell what anybody was doing, but it felt hot.
Right. I think we had some finger banging.
Yeah, it was all about like the very center of her womanhood. So,
it was very kind of purple prose,
like her X chromosomes. I don't.
Yeah, it was very. Yeah,
it was like that. It was one of those, but it felt very. there was a lot of heat to it. It just was not very descriptive.
I also appreciate in this one that they didn't go from like 0 to banging. Like there's a lot of making out in between because a lot of times like people like in books just go from 0 to like having sex, and I'm like, well, like people like there's a build up, and you get a little bit of that.
And often what I do care about a lot in romance novels is that quite frequently the stuff before you get to the first banging is the hottest stuff in the book.
Yeah,
like the foreplay of bang one is usually like either that or there's an interrupted bang that happens before I completed.
Yeah, and that's always the hotter part. Yeah,
yeah. So like I do enjoy that in a romance novel.
Yeah,
but I probably my 12-year-old self was hard up for. Things to dog ear, so I probably would have dog ear.
Oh, for sure.
But it was not particularly descriptive. What pairs nicely with a dumpster fire?
I think in this they drink Budweiser.
Yeah,
so I would say that,
or like a Lone Star. Go for a Briggs kind of.
Yeah, it's very beer because there's so much cookouts.
Yeah, it's a very, very cookout.
This book has a lot of cookouts.
Yes. People eat a lot of potato salad, yeah.
All right, and then should a human being in the 21st century read this book?
Yeah, sure.
I think it's good. Yeah, again, it's the representation is amazing. I think, she ticks a lot of boxes in talking about kind of like again, bringing up AIDS and HIV and like kind of social elements. I
want to see her books. I want to see her Kenta kids,
Yeah, I know. This book sounded super cute. So I enjoyed it. I would think that, yeah. But again, it was just for me, it was Lorren.
Yeah, and often what I think is when you read the kind of book where you can tell that all the brothers are going to have a book, the first book
is always like the throwaway book.
Yeah, it's like the brother I like the least. So what up with that? Like, yeah.
And then you're always waiting for she's always waiting for, how authors always wait for the third book to do their favorite character. So
although when we talk with Martha, she didn't even think of the one that's coming out next.
I know, I'm so excited for that one.
Yeah, she didn't even think of those as being a couple, and we were like, obviously that's going to be a book. I thought it was clear.
Like those two are the hottest ones. Like,
there's always the first one is always the whatever guy, but then there's going to be the young guy who is needs some settling down, and then there's the too serious guy who needs some lightening up, and that's always going to be book 2 and book 3. And I tend to enjoy them better.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so we hope that you have enjoyed Brenda Jackson's Tonight and Forever. You can find us all over social media. We are on Instagram as Bodice Tipplers. We are B Tipplers on Twitter. We are Bodice Tipplers on Facebook. If you like us enough, you can also visit our webpage, bodicetipplers.com. And if you really, really like us, we have a Patreon. That is patreon.com/bodicetipplers. We have all levels that you can join. And if you don't want to do that, a really good way to help support us for free is to rate, review wherever you listen to your podcast.
Bodice Tipplers is part of the Frolic Network. Find more podcasts you'll love at frolic.media/podcasts.